What's up, guys? Since ecom YouTube is once again confusing you completely with the funnel topic, with the offer topic, with everything, what is A/B testing? No one really seems to talk about that. I want to show to you guys my entire experience with funnels, with the entire offer structure system, A/B testing system that I use for my brands, that I use for brands that I've been working with and helping out. And yeah, this is literally all the information and strategy that you need, because I know, once again, a lot of YouTubers are talking about, only doing advertorials or only doing this, only doing that. I think it's bullshit. I think I want to kind of break down what I, personally worked for me. And so let's get into it. So the very first test that you're going to make is not going to be some type of listicle, some type of advertorial, some type of VSL funnel. In fact, the very first thing that you should always do is think about your offers, right? Because there's nothing that has higher leverage in the first test, like in the first couple days of testing, than your offer. Because you got to think about it this way, right? When you test a product, you won't have a lot of traffic, right? You will, let's say, maybe have, if everything runs smoothly, 200, 300 visitors day one, okay? Now, with 200, 300 visitors day one, you're not going to validate a pre-sales page and a offer at the same time. And guess what? You need to, though, right? And so what I do is actually I have an A/B test on, which is essentially just splitting up the traffic into two different product pages, which look the same. And the only difference is the actual offer. Could be a structure difference, could be a free gift difference, could be a guarantee difference, could be a pricing difference. Whatever you want to test against each other, you split up the traffic with an app like A/B Convert, and then you have two offers sending people from your ad, which is likely product or solution aware, because you should start more aware always, to one of these two offers, right? And the only metric you look for here is the revenue per visitor. Once again, you don't look for only conversion rate or only AOV. You actually just look for the metric called RPV, or revenue per visitor, which just shows you how profitable you are if you compare this to your cost per click, by the way, right? Now, the reason why I want to start with more, product or solution aware ads is because it's easier. It's easier to niche down first, to make fewer people called out more first, right? To solve a very specific problem for a very specific audience that has not been solved before like that. A lot easier to do, even if you're selling the same product, by the way. Just niche down and then just send that traffic essentially to two different offers. Now, you're going to give them 500 visitors each, and the reason why is, obviously, you guys probably have heard people talk about, give them 1,000, give them 2,000, whatever. The thing is, if you give them more than this, it's going to take too long, right? This test should not take you too long. This is the creative testing phase. This is your entire funnel setup when you're testing creatives, when you're finding that product market fit. Trust me, you don't need to get into funnels day one, right? It's absolute bullshit. You don't need to do that in order to find your product market fit or in order to actually scale something up. This funnel is more than enough. And I think the offer A/B test is actually a lot higher leverage than a pre-sales page, because if you add in a pre-sales page on your first couple days of testing, what's going to happen is, guess what? You don't have enough traffic, and the pre-sales page just disqualifies everyone. No one actually gets to see your offers, and then you don't make any money, right? That's why people even move on even more from that approach, right? If you don't test with a lot of money, and since you want a lot of money, that's the reason why you're doing this business model in the first place. So number two, right? This is what you're going to do whenever you already have 1, 2, 3K days, right? So whenever you have your product market fit more or less, you figured it out, right? Everything looks good. You have one winning ad or two winning ads that are pretty decent. Now you just want to get into more advanced funnels. You just want to scale further. And the thing is, this funnel is cool and all, but it's going to break. It's going to break at some scale. Like, it's going to just break. Skepticism at high, all-time high right now. More sophistication of the market is getting higher and higher, which just means people are more skeptical. The buying experiences of people went up, so they bought more frequently. However, the actual quality of the buying experiences went down, right? So people are more skeptical. They've been disappointed. They've heard all the claims, and so this does not really scale that well, right? Don't get me wrong. If you have a super good ad, if you're a great direct response marketer, you can make a lot of money with this funnel, right? And this should not tell you that, I can only make 1, 2, 3K days with this. You can make more. I'm just saying you have to be really good. In my experience, this is like going to cap anywhere between 1 and 3K days, right? But that's no problem, because we have a completely different structure here that we just add in, right? So the reason I have this here first is for the number two, obviously, like, you're going to do this whenever you already have a winning offer. So whenever the 500 visitors are over and you've had a winning offer, one of the two, hopefully. If not, then go ahead and stay number one and keep iterating these. So keep working on these until they actually, one of them makes you a lot of money per visitor. Now, when you have this, you're going to add in the second funnel. And so you're going to launch specific problem aware and unaware ads for one of these three, or actually all of these three funnel types. And so the reason why we want to now run problem aware and unaware ads to these is because obviously doesn't make sense to send people who already know that they want the product to these pages. They're just going to get disqualified. It's not going to increase the AOV or the conversion rate of any of these. It's just going to reduce it because you're going to disqualify your people who would have bought anyways, which is what this funnel is all about. This funnel only converts people here that already know that they want the product, right? That's the cool thing about it, right? But there's a lot of them. That's why you can make decent money with these. However, if you want to get people who woke up this morning and have no clue that they even have a problem, you probably need a structure like this right here, right? So you have a problem aware ad or an unaware ad, right? So people who just like basically are only aware of the problem or even not even that, right? Now you send them to one of these or actually all of these, right? So I like to implement at least two of these three, right? So there's the quiz or VSL funnel, there's a listicle funnel, and there's an advertorial funnel. If you don't know what these are, just look these up very quickly. I recommend starting with the listicle versus advertorial. So what you do is you have your ads that are problem aware and unaware, and you split test basically between listicle and advertorial, right? Now, if you have more than just one, you don't have to actually split test. You can just run separate campaigns or separate ad sets for each of these, and then just let kind of Facebook pick if it's a CBO, or just pick it yourself if you do ABO, right? It doesn't really matter. Media buying, again, not going to make a big difference. Now, once you have found your winning funnel type, that's what we're trying to validate here. We're trying to validate something which just increases the AOV overall. And so once you have your winning offer, or once you have your winning funnel type, you're going to then just basically, once again, just send everyone after that to this same page right here. So you're just going to show them the winning offer that we found out in step number one, right? Doesn't really change a lot, not really complicated. Now, the goal here is that we can maintain this high RPV at scale, because that's going to be the hard part. You're not going to have a higher RPV than here. That's not the point of it, right? Once again, the point of it here is you're going to have the highest RPV here once you're at like 1K days. That's going to be the easiest life that you'll ever have, right? 1K days with this funnel type. However, after that, the revenue per visitor is going to drop because more unaware people come to your store. They don't know yet if they want the product or not. They're not ready to buy yet. Your post-purchase funnel is not optimized. What's going to happen is the RPV drops, right? Specifically, conversion rate drops usually, right? Because your AOV is probably not the best now anyways. And so your conversion rate is going to drop a lot. However, if you have this structure right here, it should kind of even it out, right? It should get you back up to the high RPV, but now maybe at 4, 5, 6K days, right? So that's kind of the mindset behind it, right? So number 3 is actually then once you already have optimized all of these and really at a high scale, right? So number 3 and 4 are just usually, if you're a brand owner watching this video and you kind of want to optimize a lot more, then this is for you, right? So we have 2 different things here. Now we just essentially now go from high impact tests, like an offer test or a funnel type test. We actually go from that to super iterative, super low impact tests. What is a low impact test? A low impact test, or also called micro test, is something which has just a slight difference. You give them a lot more visitors than before though, and you actually then want to just really make these small differences, because even if this, like, I want you to you think of an example, right? Let's say you have 1K days, 30K revenue months, right? So that's where you're kind of at right now, and you find a change in the offer, right, that makes you a 10% uplift in your revenue per visitor, right? 10% is not a lot if you're at 1K days. It's an extra $100 a day in revenue. Okay, it's maybe like 2-3 sales. So it's not going to be the biggest game changer ever. However, if you're at 10K days, it's a lot. And if you're at even more than that, right, obviously even more. So what you want to do is, for example, you want to test like 0.99 versus 0.95. And yes, these things actually do make differences if you're at a high scale when it comes to conversion rate optimization, right? As you can see here though, you're going to give them a lot more visitors. So you're going to give them, 1,000, 2,000, maybe 5,000 visitors, however much it needs to show you which one is actually better. Okay, the more accurate the results are going to be. Second thing is you're going to start to iterate your pre-sales page, right? And so specifically what you're going to do is, obviously you only can iterate these two things here, is the media, all right, the images, the GIFs, whatever, and the copy, right? So what does it actually say? Now, both of these should pretty much have the same topic, right? So you should not do high impact tests here. Once again, this is a very specific low leverage test. However, if you're at a high scale, then this makes a big difference. If you're at 1K days right now, or if you're just trying to get something to scale, this is not interesting for you, right? So the metric, once again, RPV, now at a super high scale. So we're once again just trying to maintain the good RPV, but just at a super high scale, because every single time that your ad breaks, usually the conversion rate breaks, because it just can't, like, your funnel just can't handle the level of unawareness of the people coming. And that's when you do these tests to get these extra couple percent out of those, right? And so step number 4, right, is actually when you start implementing an ad funnel. What is an ad funnel, right? So you start looking at your ad in terms of like a funnel, which looks somewhat like this, right? And here is everyone that's coming to the door, right? So these people are top of funnel people, and let's say this is when someone buys, right? So bottom of funnel. Now, the thing is, obviously so far what we've talked about when it comes to creatives is just the top of funnel here. So we've just tried to get these people here, right, which are unaware, which are solution aware, which are problem aware, whatever it might be, they're all top of funnel. We're showing to people who have no clue who we are as a brand. However, the second that people get to know who we are as a brand, they get into the funnel, into the middle of funnel, for example, which is here, or the bottom of funnel, depending on how they react. So if someone just comes to the store, or maybe has watched 1 or 2 ads before in the last 30 days of our brand, then they're in the middle of funnel, right? They're not super engaged yet. They don't know how exactly they should react. They don't really know how to feel yet about your brand, but there's different types of ads, and especially different types of funnels that you run for these people, right? And so for bottom of funnel people, for middle of funnel people, let's talk about that first. You're going to basically send these to what we figured out in number 3, essentially the winning pre-sales page iteration. This is what you send them to. Now, what's super interesting here for middle of funnel people, you can do a lot of work in the post-purchase funnel, right? The post-purchase structure that you have. Is it like a big bundle that you offer first? Do you have downsells? How many post-purchase one-time offers do you have? All that kind of stuff, middle of funnel. Now, for bottom of funnel here, what's super interesting, actually I should turn these around probably so it's easier to see, but like for bottom of funnel that is down there, hold on. For bottom of funnel down here, what's super interesting is that, you know, these people down here are obviously already, like, for example, people who added to cart, who went to checkout, maybe have put in their email address, maybe have even bought from you, right? Customers technically also count as bottom of funnel traffic. So what do you do to these people? Well, to these people, you obviously send them once again to the winning micro test offer up here. So 0.99 versus 0.95, for example. And then all you do is you do A/B tests on these things: pre-purchase upsells, website copy, product page copy, product pictures, right? Guarantees, all that kind of stuff, right? So this is what your funnel structure should look like overall, right? So if you want me to help you do this, right, I do have a mentorship program as well. So go ahead and check it out. First link in the description. And I want to say thank you so much for giving me your most important asset, which is your attention, right? Now, I hope you could learn a thing or two. Write your main takeaway into the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a beautiful day.